Almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids. But this lecture I won't start with the pyramids, as usual, but geometrical shapes. The three most powerful: pyramidal, spherical, and conical. The stone sphere phenomenon has become known from Costa Rica, 1930s, 40s, and 50s. United Fruit Company was clearing the jungle near the Delta River Dickies, and they discovered 398 stone spheres, like this, stone balls from Costa Rica. Some of them are reaching 35 tons. However, there are the small ones. They are made from the granodiorite, and our friend Lee Pennington will be talking more about them on Saturday. Some of them are used in front of the schools, the small ones, to much bigger ones. In San Jose, Costa Rica, in front of the museum. Granite never comes. Okay, maybe just one row of lights. Any better? Yeah. Can you see cameras? Can you see? You can? Good. This is good. This is good. Granite never comes free in the shape of a sphere, in a nature. Means it has to be shaped. However, this is the hardest material to shape. And plus, it's the most complicated shape to make. Imagine 35 tons granite, so you need to have today at least several cranes to manipulate. The only two tribes that I found that lived in Costa Rica, that even live today, had no technology, now or long time ago. Now there are some islands in the Pacific Ocean also with the stone spheres, like this one here, made from coquina on the Isla del Can. Some stone spheres on Antarctica, meaning that long time ago, when we did not have ice, there was a civilization placing those stone spheres on dry land, Antarctica. Czechoslovakia, former Czechoslovakia, today's Czech Republic. New Zealand, of course. Easter Island. This is an active stone sphere. You put a compass, moves around. This one is from Canary Islands. Egyptian stone spheres, southwestern desert. This one is in Mexico, Pueblas Bolas. 250 of them. I will be talking more about them tomorrow at our stone sphere park. Just remember those pictures. Geologists claim that nearby volcano was, during the eruptions, sending those stone spheres on top of the hills, and they remain there. More of them. Look at those holes. I will be mentioning that also. During the 60s and 70s, the locals had rumors that golds and diamonds were inside the stone spheres. So they destroyed 90% of it. Look at the damage. Western Serbia, Kremna, nice stone sphere. Unfortunately, 2005, the fire was completely destroyed. Northern Albania, some of them destroyed also. Croatia, 5 of them like this. And stone spheres in Bosnia, northeastern Bosnia, granite. 7 of them. Volcanic stone, shaped. The town of Konjic. And sandstone. This one is not finished. You see the surface. This one we discovered the top of the mountain in the winter time, minus 18 degrees Celsius. Unfinished one. When people were saying that during the glacial periods they were made, well, it seems that one of the glaciers got tired and did just half of the job. And of course, Zavidovići, our tomorrow's destination. We took samples from those stone spheres and we proved that they were actually made. Now, thinking about the purpose of the stone spheres, I had to go to Sweden, the place called Anand Shop. According to the Swedish archaeologists, they think that people from who know when were building a replica of the boat 250 kilometers from the sea, which they use symbolically for the underworld. I've heard a lot of explanation. This one was really original. What we do have actually are erected megaliths. In the middle we have the stone spheres. I came to the site with a Swedish lady, Eva. She is head of the Dowsers Association in Sweden. And she told me before I entered the circle, okay, let me measure your aura, bioenergy field. She did measure it, about 1 meter. This is a good aura. Now go and climb the stone sphere, which I did. So I was standing on the stone sphere, so she was measuring 1 meter, 2, 5, 15. Mother Teresa had 18 meters aura. I said, Eva, wait another couple of minutes, my aura will be 150 meters. That's how I felt, like on the top of the world. It seemed to me that all those erecting megaliths somehow were sending energy in the middle of the circle to the stone sphere, and I was standing there. So my aura was expanding. And then Ida Svensson told me, okay, now climb the tumulus. And you see the line exactly goes in the middle. So I did climb this tumulus, 14 meters high. The one that we visited today, 32 meters. Then I was standing on the top of the tumulus. She put the metal keys under my feet, metal conductor. And then she was measuring my chakras. 7 chakras in our physical bodies. And I know that my 4th one is the most open, and the chakra of love and sharing. But then she came to my 7th chakra, the crown chakra. She said, it's completely open. It's like the whole energy is going through your bodies to the universe. Now, if your chakras open, it means your energy flow is running much quicker, much smoother. So, when you think about the ancient sites, we really don't know that they were exclusively connected to the energy flows. Everything in our life is about the energy. Just the way we are getting it is different than before. What we use today, those video projectors, or lights, or gas, is different than what they were doing then. But the purpose is the same. Communication, or transportation, or to move your ideas. It seems that in this particular case, they made a lot of erected stones in the forest, in different places, catching somehow those energy flows and sending them back in this circle. And then they were amplifying it with different powerful shapes. Today in 21st century we know about 5 physical senses. A long time ago, people knew about 5 physical and 30 spiritual senses. Today we know 5 physical and 1 spiritual, which we call the 6th sense. If somebody can see the future, somebody can heal with a touch, we are saying, oh, they have sixth sense developed. Well, it was 30 of them. Education process then was different than what we have today. And what do we have today? People go to schools, they teach them a bunch of facts. Napoleon was born so and so. He fought these fights. Bunch of information which we really don't need. In the past, they were teaching them how to become creative and how to get all the information, how to travel through times, past or future, how to influence things, how to develop mental powers, how to lift stuff, without doing in primitive ways like we do today. If we want to lift block, we have to fight gravitation force before you neutralize it and you move it with your finger. How to exchange thoughts using telepathy, how to move using teleportation. That's the difference between then and now. Today, if somebody in schools see gifts at our kids, then everybody attacking them, laughing at them. So people get inside and they don't talk about their gifts. So they reduce us to 5 physical senses. And then they reduce us even more. 4 years ago, when I was in school, I could always say that, multiply two-digit numbers. Today, our kids cannot multiply 2 one-digit numbers. So they're reducing us more and more, so they can easily manipulate with us. And now let's go back to the world of pyramids. Egyptologists have been saying for 200 years that this was the first pyramid on Egyptian soil, the famous step pyramid in Saqqara, built according to them by the 3rd dynasty pharaoh Djoser, 4,620 years ago. However, under the pyramid, a network of tunnels was discovered, a lot of ceramic materials, and it's taking us back 5,800 years. 1,200 years before the pharaoh Djoser, and 600 years before pharaohs in Egypt. So who built it? Caveman. And then Egyptologists are saying that the last pharaoh of the 3rd dynasty, Pharaoh Snefer, built not 1, but 3 pyramids. This is one of them, according to them, in Dahshur, the famous bent pyramid. You talk to Egyptologists, they will tell you that the builders realized in half of the construction that they made mistake with the slope, so they decided to change it. So they have 2 slopes, 52 and 43 degrees. 52, incidentally, is the slope of the Khufu pyramid, and 43 of the pyramid across, the Red Pyramid. Now, since you heard me today talking about the energies, I was talking, among other things, about the energy flow within the pyramid. I was telling you that it goes from the bottom, hitting 1/3, and going back. It is exactly where the energy flow hits the walls of the pyramid. So if it goes up, it makes the movement much quicker. So they were experimenting with different designs of pyramids. It was all about the energy flow. Now, Egyptologists are saying Pharaoh Snefer was not happy with this pyramid. And that's the reason why we don't have his body inside. So they said he built another one, the famous Red Pyramid, also in Dahshur. You enter it, no paintings, chambers are empty, no sarcophagus, no hieroglyphic symbols, no writings, no artifacts, not a single proof who, when, how, and why. And then Egyptologists are saying, based on no evidence, that he was not happy with the second pyramid. So he built the 3rd one, the stepped pyramid in Meidum. It seemed that it was very hard to satisfy this pharaoh. Inside, again, empty passageways. And then the era of the 4th dynasty pharaohs, as per Egyptologists. Cheops, Khafre, Mycera. Father, son, and the grandson. Well, outside we don't see any banners saying built by Mycera. Inside, megalithic passageways. Impressive. But the chambers are empty. Again, the walls with no hieroglyphic symbols. Based on what they've been teaching us? That it was built by the pharaoh, Khufu, or Khafre, or Mycera. A little figurine of 8 centimeters, a little graffiti made in the 18th century. The time will show that the claim by Egyptologists that it was built by 4th dynasty pharaohs is the biggest hoax in history. And guess what? They call our project the biggest hoax in history here in Bosnia. Let's look at the Cheops pyramid. The base, 231 meters. 2 lengths of the base, 462, divided by height, 147. The result is 3.14. The number pi. Well, if this guy lived 4,500 years ago, how come historians are telling us that only 2,000 years after the ancient Greek civilization actually learned about the number pi? In similar way, we can get to the number 5, 1.618, the distance between our planet and sun, the distance between our planet and the moon. This is the knowledge that the ancient Egyptians did not have. This pyramid is not built by the pharaoh of Egypt. When you go to the National Museum in Cairo, not now, maybe in the next couple of years, they will proudly show you the primitive copper tools, very soft, and wooden sticks. And I will tell you, this is all ancient Egyptians needed to build this colossal structure that we cannot repeat today in 21st century by our technology. The motif on prehistorical Egyptian races, 2,000 years before pharaonic times. Animals, birds, and pyramids, which are not supposed to be there. You go back 6,000 BC, 8,000 years before present. Prehistorical Egyptian races. Pyramids, pyramids, pyramids. These pictures are not in the history books. That's not what they teach our kids about. We go south, the Nubian kingdom, 224 pyramids. 70 degrees. Northeastern part of Africa, Egypt and Sudan. But the pyramids are built all around the African continent, and not a single word about them in our history books. To the north, the islands of Sicily and Sardinia. To the west, the Canary Islands. To the east, the island of Mauritius. 43 pyramids in Sicily, volcanic stones, steps design, cornerstones nicely shaped. And then tens of pyramids on Canary Islands, mostly on the Tenerife, the largest one, eastern part of the island, the town of Guimas. 4-sided pyramids, volcanic stone, cornerstones again, nicely shaped on 2 sides, very compact, no binding material. When you climb the pyramid using the staircase on the western side, during the most important day for the ancient, the summer solstice, June 21st. The sun rises exactly in the middle of the plateau, meaning they oriented the pyramid to the east, to the summer solstice. When I was at La Laguna University in Tenerife 4 years ago, before my lecture I talked to their professors. I asked them if they visited the pyramids in Guimar. They said, well, we were in Guimar, but according to our scientific communities, they are not pyramids. They are just a pile of rocks. I said, well, it's not a pile of rock. They are very compact, planned structures. And I was giving them proof. Material, orientation. They got upset because I was contradicting their mainstream scientists. And they did not come to my lecture. But 350 students did. And they wanted to know the truth. What is their problem? 550 years ago, the Spaniards were going to the west, to Meso and Southern America. And they first came to Canary Islands. At that time, we had Guanches who lived there. Very advanced culture. They were building stone temples, stone pyramids, stone cities, irrigation channels, but they did not have military because they did not have enemy. In a few decades, the Spanish people wiped off Guanches from the face of the planet. And today, in order to justify those barbaric acts, they claim that the Guanches were primitive. They were barbaric. So they falsify the history. We go to the other side of Africa, the island of Mauritius. You can see the sugarcane fields, they reach 4 meters, 13 feet. You go to those dense fields and you can see the stone structures. You climb the top of one of them, a beautiful view of the pyramids. They have a total of 7-step stone pyramids. And again, volcanic stone, cornerstones nicely shaped, 4 sides, plateau on the top. This eastern side, look at the sunrise during the summer solstice. Now, the island of Mauritius in the southern hemisphere. So, summer solstice is actually December 21st. So obviously, 5,000 kilometers away of Canary Islands and their pyramids, we have the same builders. When I was showing the pictures of pyramids on Canary Islands to my Egyptian colleagues 4 or 5 years ago, they were shocked. When I sent them those pictures, 5,000 kilometers on the other side of Africa, they stopped talking to me. Because according to them, only civilizations like theirs could build the pyramids. How come on those not inhabited islands you could have pyramids? Now, once we measure the pyramids, we send out preliminary scientific reports to the government of Mauritius. And we were suggesting them to investigate them together. Then we got the answer in an email. Dr. Osmanagić, we don't have pyramids. What you claim are the pyramids, actually they are just a pile of rocks made by local farmers while planting the sugarcane fields. So they were, putting those volcanic stones behind their back, and miraculously, the pyramid was made. The length of this side, 24 meters, 95 centimeters, 2495, 2495, 2495. What is their problem? According to every encyclopedia source, until the 16th century, this island was not inhabited. And then the white Europeans came, from Spain, Portugal, Italy, Holland, UK, and France. Of course, Europeans never built pyramids. In order to answer the question, who built, they need to change their history. Bureaucracy will not buy it. The Mayan civilization built 100,000 pyramids, 99% still in the middle of the jungle. and forests. What do we know about civilization if we have no clue about 99% of their buildings and temples and cities and artifacts? This one is considered the biggest one for the longest time. It's in Tikal, in northern Guatemala, 94 meters in height. However, 10 years ago, another Mayan town was discovered, El Mirador, in the middle of the jungle. This is their biggest pyramid, 103 meters. If completely clean, it should be its look. Just under those two pyramids, we could have almost half of the city of Tikal, which has been considered the capital of the Mayan world. You enter Palenque in Mexican state of Chiapas. This is your first view. You would say just a hill with the trees. Actually, this is the first pyramid. This is much better known view, the Temple of Inscriptions, a couple of pyramids to the right. As far as from August of last year, they finally started excavating below the ground. They discovered the tunnel that connects those three pyramids to the right. Now they are saying, well, probably there is a tunnel network under all pyramids in Palenque. And it seems that some tunnels are linking several Mayan towns. That's what they are saying last year. I had those claims in my books 12 years ago. 35 pyramids have been cleaned in the case of Palenque. Originally, this town had 1,234 of them. And the biggest one is here, in the center. Much, much bigger than the famous Temple of Inscriptions. This is the biggest, the most superior, and the oldest. So, Mexicans do not want to uncover because it's going to mess up our ideas about the evolution. They are teaching us first we are primitive and then we are progressing. Here, it was the opposite. San Andres, El Salvador, their biggest pyramid. It doesn't look like a pyramid, but if cleaned completely, this will be a replica, a model of it. El Chuacan, one of the pyramids, look like a regular hill. However, we can see some of the stone steps close to the foot of the pyramid. Western Honduras, Copan, the most artistic Mayan city. This is their biggest pyramid, the Acropolis. 1987 to 1989, archaeologists from US and Honduras were clearing those trees and the roofs that started damaging the stairways. And then they discovered that inside the pyramid there was 700 years older temple, which they named Rosalila, due to its characteristic rose color. Now, the temple was perfectly preserved, being inside the pyramid. So in this particular case, the pyramid was used as the protection for something even more sacred. Above the entrance, we can see the symbol for our solar system. Above that one, the white one, is symbol for our center of the galaxy, which Mayans called Hunab-Ku. And to the left, and to the right, to the left, and to the right. As you can see, behind this handsome guy, we have something that looks like a vehicle, with the wheels, with the body of the vehicle, and the cabin. And inside the cabin, we have the Mayan profile with their big noses. So what are they telling us? They got vehicles between the center of our solar system and the center of our galaxy. Are they telling us that they were able to move within our galaxy? And where did they get so many astronomical information from? They knew about the fact that our solar system moves within our galaxy, that it lasts almost 26,000 years. We could read that when we partially deciphered one of their books, Mayan codexes, which we now call Dresden Codex. There are 5 of them say that we know publicly. Dresden, Paris, Madrid, one in the US, and one in the Czech Republic. The one from Dresden is giving us a lot of astronomical information. Tiny Belize, former British Honduras. That little country, 1,000 Mayan cities, towns, and villages. Every one of them would have several pyramids. Most of them still in the jungle. El Salvador, case of half-clear pyramid, Casablanca. And then we go to South America. 50 kilometers, 30 miles south from the famous Nazca Mountains is the archaeological site called Cabachi. 8 years ago, when I was there, talked to Italian archaeologists, they said they discovered 3-step pyramids. When I went back 4 years ago, now they're talking about 34 of them. So who built this city of pyramids in southern Peru? Everything they tell us about it is wrong. Telling us it was built by Nazca culture. Never in Peruvian history such culture existed. There is a modern Nazca town. They're saying it was built 1,800 years ago. I asked them if they found any organic material inside the structure. They said yes, we did find some female bone in one of the structures, and radiocarbon dating showed that the age of the bone is 4,500 years. So I asked, how is it possible? You have a bone 4,500 years inside the structure, which is only 1,800 years. What is their problem? Officially, Peruvian history, 3,000 years. Now, we need to change that. We need to go back in time. We go to the northern side of this beautiful country, the area of Tucumán, 200 Tucumán pyramids. Today in the bad shape. If you clean a little bit the bottom and remove the desert dust, you will find the walls. Those walls are built from the adobe bricks. Now here we can see the vertical erosion. We know if you have vertical erosion, that structure has been exposed to the rain and storms for the prolonged time. Well, for 7,000 years, the climate in this area of Peru has been the same. Dry, sunny, it's a desert, no rains. So when did we have those storms? 8,000, 12,000, 15,000 years ago? And when those structures were built? Again, we changed the history of this region. Northeastern Peru, the Pyramid of the Sun, Huaca del Sol, the largest pyramidal structure in South America. However, what we see today is just 1/3 of its original size. When the Spaniards came to this area 500 years ago, and they came to this colossal structure, they didn't know where to start destroying it. So what they did, they moved the nearby river Mocha to the pyramid. So 2/3 of it is gone forever. Again, adobe bricks. Now look at those bricks. Here we can see one line. Here we can see some dots. We can see some spirals, some numbers. 150 million adobe bricks is what you make today. And among them, most of them are originals with different motifs on the top. Across is another pyramid, Huaca de la Luna, the pyramid of the moon. Another 150 million bricks. In order to build this complex, archaeologists are counting that it would need 30,000 people, 300 years to build the complex. Couple of problems with that. If you have workforce of 30,000 people, you would need a city of at least 100,000 people to support the construction workers. 100,000 people would need to have tens of thousands of homes. So far, archaeological excavation has discovered 2 homes. Second problem, when you start building a complex, it will last for 300 years. So grandkids or your grandkids will not see this complex complete. The most northern place in Mexico, the pyramids, is Tula. According to all encyclopedia and references, that was the capital of Toltecs from the 8th to the 12th century. According to some Mexicans, Toltecs were never a separate culture, but the most sophisticated, the most spiritual people from other cultures like Maya, Olmecs, and the others. But if we agree, for once, with the mainstream science, 8th to 12th century, 3 pyramids have been reconstructed. On top of one of them, 8 stone columns. They call them Atlanteans. And they claim for themselves that they came from the east, from the Red Land. Well, to the east from Mexico is the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Every column represents a face. Different races from different continents. Black and white and red and yellow and brown. Now, this is the 8th century. They teach us that only when superior white Europeans came from Europe to Meso and South America, the communication between continents started. Well, they teach us wrong. The communication was there not thousands, but tens of thousands of years in the past. The Kukulkan Pyramid, 91 stairs and staircase, 4 sides, 4 times 91, 364. When you add platform on the top, 365, which is the number of days in our solar calendar. A lot of astronomical knowledge is built here. Almost the same design, but this time 10,000 kilometers to the east. Kocher Pyramid in northeastern Cambodia. 60 kilometers to the east from the Angkor Wat. We really don't know who built this complex here. Stay in Cambodia, and their pyramidal temple, and let's go back to Guatemala and Temple of Black Jaguar in Tikal. Looks the same. They say there was no communication between Mesoamerica and Asia. Pyramids in Indonesia, Mexico, Egypt, Bali, and Mayan pyramids. Let's go to the east, another couple of thousand kilometers, South Korea. Step pyramids in Andong, 3 of them remained, tens of them were destroyed when building the roads and during the urbanization of the area. Monte Albán is the 2nd largest ceremonial center from Mexican soil. The builders flattened the top of the mountain, and then they built the city of pyramids, north-south. Most of them have been cleared. Some of them are getting more money to be cleaned and reconstructed. The Chinese pyramids. Some of you were there already. 5,000 years ago, the first written records in some of the Buddhist temples are saying that there were pyramids in China that were very, very old. 5,000 years ago, they were very old. 1967, the Chinese archaeologist is coming to the international conference to Japan, and he's saying that yes, there are 250 pyramids in the central Chinese province of Shanxi. He found some clay tablets with some type of hieroglyphic symbols. He deciphered them partially and concluded that they are over 12,000 years old. He went back to China. They put him to mental hospital. And nobody heard about him anymore. The year is 1967, the first year of the famous Chinese Revolution. If you had opinion different than mainstream, you wouldn't have a good time. After that, the end of 60s, all 1970s, until mid-1980s, the Chinese government was planting the tree on the top of their pyramids. You can see in much better order than here in Mexico. That the government said that nobody will get permission in another generation, in another 3 years. What is their problem? According to their official history, Chinese society, 5,000 years. Advanced Chinese societies, 2,300 years. Everything started with the Emperor Qing, who united 7 Chinese provinces in blood into one kingdom. Started with Chinese currency, built the famous Chinese wall. And now, all of a sudden, their idea of history is not good anymore. We need to go back for another 10,000 years. Too much for the colonists. South America, Bolivia, 4,050 meters above the sea level, next to the lake Titicaca, the pyramid complex of Acapena. Step pyramids. Unfortunately, not much left, covered by soil, grass, bushes. However, we can see those blocks laying around, and they're made from granite. Perfectly fit each other. The granite is the strongest material in nature. On the Mohs scale from 1 to 10, it's 6.5. According to the archaeologists, until 2,000 years ago, the only tools in this area were copper tools. Copper is soft. On the Mohs scale from 1 to 10, it's number 3. You cannot use inferior soft tools, no matter how much you harden them, to shape superior materials. Somebody did shape. Today they would use diamond tools to shape and to fit them perfectly like this. Some of the granite plates are laser straight. You could use them today as the tool. And some of them are obviously machined. German Bolivian archaeologist and mathematician Dr. Poznański spent 50 years of his life to try to figure out the age and the builders. His conclusion, this complex was 17,000 years old. Who had diamond tools, lasers, and machines 17,000 years ago? The look of the Pyramid of the Sun, Teotihuacan, 155 years ago, as you could see, the slides of our colleagues from New Zealand, looked like just natural hill. It took 3 long archaeological campaigns in 75 years of Mexican and American archaeologists to get this. One of the most beautiful examples of the pyramidal architecture in the world. When you look from the bottom, tourists who are climbing the top, who are going to that beautiful energy platform, it looks very small, tiny. Looks like the builders wanted to reach the sky with this structure. And sure enough, 74 meters is impressive. And 74 meters is exactly half of the height of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Now, as you could see, the Egyptian pyramids have the square base. This pyramid here, square base. Sunny, I'm here. He escaped again.
Sorry, guys.
Square base, square base. Length of the base in Egypt, 231. Length of the base here, 231. So, not coincidence. In the case of Egyptian pyramids, number pi is incorporated. Here square root of number pi. 3 pyramids at the Giza plateau. 3 pyramids here. The sun, the moon, the Quetzalcoatl. And their layout is exactly the same. They're telling us no communication between Africa and Mesoamerica. In this case, they claim 4,500 years. However, here we can see the signature of the same architect. Pyramids on the US soil, they don't teach us about them. 200 of them in southwestern part of the state of Illinois. Cahokia pyramids. They call them mounds. Well, mound is something where you use dirt. But here we have 4 types of construction materials. Sandstone blocks, pebbles, rocks, sand, and when they finish the structure, they cut a square of grass and soil, turn them upside down, and cover the structure. In order to build this structure, they needed an equivalent of 126,000 trucks of construction material. 126,000 20-ton trucks. How many tens of millions of tons of material for 200 pyramids? And that's what survived today. 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, Smithsonian Institute was established with the main goal not to show the artifact to the public, but to hide them from the public. At least the most important 5 to 10%. Teams from Smithsonian were going around the US, central, eastern, western, northern part, destroying those mounds, taking all the artifacts. The local newspapers in Chicago and some other places were having interviews with those teams, and they were confirming that. Today it's already forgotten. You know, Smithsonian, oh, there is a piece from the moon, or a piece from here, or from there. All the pyramids are four-sided, and they all match cardinal points. East, west, north, south. North, cosmic north, the location of the northern star. All of them but one, the biggest one. At the time of the building, it was oriented to the magnetic north. Now, there is a difference between cosmic and magnetic. Magnetic moves every year between Canada and Siberia and back. Last year, it moved for 42 kilometers. Builders who knew for cosmic and magnetic north, and the difference between them were not primitive Indian tribes, so-called Mississippians, like they try to tell us, but very advanced culture. Everything they teach us about this site is wrong. They are saying Mississippians, they are saying Cahokia. Cahokia is the minor Indian tribe from the 17th century who had nothing to do with those structures. Let's stay on American soil. Yes, Chaco Canyon, Pueblo Bonito, a beautiful structure. Now, there was a civilization from the 10th century, came from nowhere. You don't see evolution. Disappeared in the middle of the 14th century after 350 years. This was the original architecture of their capital, if you can call it, Pueblo Bonito. 700 apartments. Interesting thing is, they were all almost the same size. It tells us a lot about the social structure. They did not have big chiefs and priests and kings with huge rooms. They were all equal. just one entrance to this apartment complex. When they left the area, and they left it in a radius of 1,000 miles from four what we call today US states, Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, and Utah. They left it at the same time, in peace. They simply had the walls, they left some of the clothes, like they might be back, but they never came back. In the 10th century, the Mayan disappeared from Mesoamerica. They left their cities. Some of the temples were left unfinished. The haplogroup of the Mayans and the haplogroups of Anasazis is the same. Mayans left in the 10th century. These guys appeared here in the 10th century. One of the interesting mysteries, even though it is rather recent. Their walls, look at this window. It's not very logical to put it in the corner. We probably put some in the middle. However, when you were watching the sun, you could see the shadow coming in there on the wall, and you could follow the summer solstice, equinox. You would have a calendar in your room. Look at their walls, 1 meter thick, 3.5 feet. Are superior than what we do today. And again, their architecture, this half radius side was always facing south, Chapter. Or this one, Pueblo de la Roya. Again, southern side is here. Beautiful architecture. Those rounded places are places where they did their spiritual activities. The Spaniards came this area, they named this Aztec, thinking that the Aztecs were building those cities. The places for their spiritual activities having roofs of 95 tons. They were very advanced, construction-wise. There are more in the book, which you can get from the Mystery of the Unsung Civilization. Let's go back to the pyramid world. Italy, 5 pyramid complexes. They are all covered by stone. The biggest one, Montevecchia, between Milan and Turin, 3 big pyramids. And look at the layout. Exactly the same as the layout of the Giza pyramids and Teotihuacan pyramids. Now, our colleagues from Belgium have been talking about the layout of Orion Belt, 2 big stars and white dwarf. However, no matter how you place those 3 stars on Giza pyramids or those here, the third one is always a little bit off. The 3 stars and the cygnus have perfect alignment. But again, it can be just a hint, the layout. The Pyramid of the Moon, Teotihuacan, Mexico, then and today. 600 pyramidal structures along the way, along the, as they call it, Avenue of the Death. But that's Aztecs' name, in their Nahuatl language. We don't know the real name for this city. And again, everything they tell us about this city is wrong. They said it was built by Teotihuacanos. Culture of that name never existed. They are saying 2,200 years without a single radiocarbon dating, not a single tool. So who built it? They're asking us very often about the tools here in Bosnia. Don't expect to find some primitive tools for the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. It's 18 million tons of materials here in Visoko. You don't use shovels for such huge structures. Or here. Every day 50,000 tourists, every year $5 billion for Mexican economy. Before the revolution in Egypt, up to 15 million people, $15.5 billion. The pyramid business Big business. And now the biggest and the oldest. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, the town of Visoko, about 20 kilometers from here. And as we discussed last few days, we have to have geometry to call something a pyramid. And it has to be structured. So here we can see two sides, they are good preserved, north and east. The third one is also not so bad, west. The fourth one has been damaged heavily. On those three sides, we have soil from 40 centimeters close to the top, here about 1.5 meters, which is understandable because of the erosion. But on the fourth side, southern side, some places, the layer of soil is up to 10 meters in height, and that's the reason why we have it a little bit rounded. But then when you see some of the Mayan pyramids, they're in much worse shape. And nobody questioned the claim that they are actually pyramids. Just here, for some reason, people don't like that in the mainstream science. For those of you who haven't seen the aerial view so far, let me show it. The last 8 years, for the first time, a huge archaeological project is not run by departments of archaeology from the universities, national museums, ministries of cultures, by the people who are paid to do their job, but by the non-profit foundation, which we call the Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation, by people who love the research, the pyramids, the ancient history. They always say, even though in our country politicians don't care about the culture, our national museum is closed, they shut it down because of the lack of money. And our project has the future because there is no lack of enthusiasm. Topographical map for the State Institute for Geodesy, we can clearly see those three corners. And of course, we discussed the orientation. The best one so far was thought to be the northern side of the Egyptian Great Pyramid with the error towards the perfect north, 0 degrees, 2 minutes, according to the Institute for Geodesy. After they applied the scientific instrumentation, this side aligns with the northern star with the error of only 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds to the right. The most precise orientation ever. And a nice three-dimensional topographic map. As you can see, in this aerial view, the top is more or less flattened. Of course, we got the influence of medieval times, and the forts there, and Roman, and Illyrians, but all the pyramids, original pyramids, the oldest pyramids would have a flat top and then pyramidion on the top. And those pyramidions were always built from the better material, either from granite, gold, plated granite, gold, and all the original pyramidions are missing. China, Egypt, or Bosnia. Without the pyramidion, this machine cannot work properly anymore. We discussed this perfect triangle, the tops of the sun, and moon, and dragon, 2,170 meters. Another triangle, the top of love, earth, river Phonica, triangle within triangle, sacred geometry. If we extend those lines, the natural landmarks, like places of two rivers meet, again the river, we are getting another triangle, which is the base for the flower of life.
Yeah.
Somebody was surveying the area from the air and then laying out all those structures. Summer solstice, Richard Hall talked about it yesterday, June 21st. We can see that the shadow of the sun pyramid formed another pyramid. It's like we are looking at in the mirror, with the same height. And August 21st, 10 days ago, 15 days ago, 6:30 p.m., the shadow of the sun going towards the western slope of the moon. 7:30 p.m., the shadow completely covers the moon pyramid. And in symbolical way, it's saying that the rule of the day in the sun is over, and the rule of the night and the moon starts. Hundreds of pyramids by that name in Meso and South America, but never such a clear astronomical relationship like here. Geothermal satellite screening showed us, when we did the screening during the daytime and nighttime, that the heat loss, energy loss, is the biggest in the case of the sun, moon, dragon, and love pyramid. Meaning that those structures have passageways and chambers, and the energy is lost much quicker than in the case of the natural hills. Natural hills are very compact, it takes time for them to get formed or to lose the energy. But artificial structure, they lose energy much quicker. Now, we invited our friend from UK, Dr. Harry Oldfield, to come with his camera, PIP camera, and to see what it's going to tell us. Now, this is a special camera that can basically see and film what he calls bioenergy fields. And those fields above one pointy hill in Bosnia, a natural hill, are all horizontal. One village in Bosnia, again, horizontal. Green and red, and green and blue and red. And this is the Bosnian pyramids. Those fields are all vertical. And now, let's see why. So the sun pyramid, the town of Visoko, look at the red color. The energy is getting accumulated inside. More and more, look at now. Now everything is full. It's filled with the energy. And it gets released to the very top. Hitting those horizontal energy fields, they become vertical. Interesting thing. We've been doing this for 2 years. And those fields are always vertical. Meaning the energy keeps flowing to the top. The pyramid has been working continuously. Archaeological work has been said enough for the last couple of days. The Sun Pyramid, the corner in 2006 has been damaged since. All other places show the presence of construction material. Northeast corner, 80 centimeters of soil. Archaeological trench number 4C, rectangular blocks, so the beginning of the excavation. The first row, the second, third, fourth. We took samples, sent them to 6 institutes for the materials. Bosnia, France, Italy, as you could hear today. This is the beginning excavation on Sonda number 5. You see soft soil and then immediately excellent quality concrete. University of Sarajevo, the sample shows the properties of concrete. Extremely hard, much harder than average hardness of our concrete in the 21st century, and water absorption very low, also superior to our concretes. Professor Pašić from Institute of Materials from Zenica has analyzed 50 samples, and some of them are reaching unbelievable level of 133. At this point, the planet, I think our technology can do up to 110, 115 megapascals. And they're very costly. In his written report, Professor Pašić wrote, the builders of the Bosnian pyramids, the builders, used readily available materials. Now we know where they got from this material. When making the tunnels, they removed hundreds of thousands of tons of pebbles and rocks and sand, and as a binder they used clay, this brownish material which we were able to see today. After the first analysis, in 2007, I met the president of Bosnian Academy of Sciences, Professor Matić, and I asked him, Professor, why don't you come to Visoko to visit the pyramids? And he said, you claim that what you have there is concrete. I wanted to tell him it's not me, but scientific institutes. But he continued. Every history book said that the concrete was invented by ancient Romans 2,000 years ago. And you claim that this is older than ancient Roman concrete, it's impossible. You don't have concrete there, therefore you don't have pyramids. He turned his back, he left. After that, not a single member of Bosnian Academy of Sciences came to the site. And those who were cooperating with us had a choice. If they continue cooperation, they're going to lose membership in Academy of Sciences. So people started going away from this project. One of the members of our board of directors in 2008 said that he's going to be gone for a while. He won't be participating in our activities. At the end of that year, we read in the newspaper that they're proposing to become a member of Academy of Sciences. And then later on, when we talked to him, he said during the interview in the technical department, they told him, we know that you are a member of the board of directors. We know that you've been active in promoting this project. But now you have a choice. Either you become a member of Academy, but then you need to leave this non-serious project, or you won't get elected. So this is a type of pressure that you don't see in the media, but it is behind the scenes. It's been following us from day one. So it was very interesting to see what the predecessors, actually what the people who came after ancient Roman, would say about our centers. We sent them to the Polytechnico di Torino, institutions with 25,000 professors and PhDs and construction engineers, and after the analysis they said what we already knew, that the binding material for the concrete was produced by clay heating process at high temperatures. And finally, Dr. Joseph Davidovich of France, the guy who established the Institute for Geopolymers, got our samples. He immediately said this is man-made concrete, and he is probably the world leading expert in ancient concretes and ancient cements. He has written 25 books, 15 of them about geopolymerization, 10 of them about pyramid building. He put our samples under electronic microscope, and he discovered what he called geopolymer cement, an artificial binding material. So it was proof after proof that we have a huge pyramid covered in artificially made concrete. And then we invited two leading Russian geophysicists, Professor Kavroshkin and Professor Tsiplakov. And they stayed 2 seasons, 2007, 2008, working independently from us. And when they submitted their report to the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences, there are several very interesting conclusions. The first, that the Bosnian pyramids match Egyptian pyramids in shape, form, and seismic values. Secondly, that the Sun pyramid was built from non-compact material. Now, some of our Egyptian colleagues in the beginning, 2006 and 2007, like Professor Barakat, Professor Selim, thought that there was a hill. So the builders shaped the hill, made 4 triangular faces, and then covered them by concrete, and of course oriented them east, west, north, south. According to the Russians, it was non-compact material, so we don't have sedimentation that lasted millions of years. But somebody built it from bottom up. And the last thing, very interesting for us, they said from the top there was a tunnel network 280 meters below the top. So we have tunnel, huge network under the pyramid. And that's what we try to achieve by clearing the tunnels starting from ground. We want to connect to those tunnels. So 2006 we started clearing layers of soil above the concrete blocks. Some of them were reaching 40 tons, square or rectangular. And in this archive photo, we can see our, our typical Bosnian productivity. One guy is working and 100 celebrations. Top of that, one is having a speech. You got used to that. So, 2006, we have a big discovery. 11 years after the Bosnian War. So one would say, hey, you have the chance for tourism. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it would happen probably in a normal country. In our case, what happened, first we were attacked by the cultural establishment of the country. Leading archaeologists from university, from National Museum, they were saying we had no pharaohs, therefore we have no pyramids. We had no hundreds of thousands of slaves, we don't have elements to build those pyramids. Showing their lack of knowledge how the pyramids were actually built. They were laughing at us then. 50 years from now, people will be laughing at them. How little they know. Now, we were not discouraged. We started digging in April of 2006. And they signed a petition, 23 of them, leading Bosnian archaeologists, geologists, historians, and museum curators, asking the federal government to start digging. The Bosnian Prime Minister at that time came to the site. He saw those rectangular blocks, and he said, this is man-made concrete. He saw thousands of people at that time coming to the pyramids. He said, this is good for Bosnian economy, for the tourism. Mr. Osmanagić, keep working, don't worry about the jealous scientists. So he kept working. Now, they got very upset, because it was then a cultural establishment. On the other hand, a small non-profit foundation. For the first time in Southern Europe, such foundation was established in area of archaeological work. So they got connected with the European Archaeological Association. At that time, the president, Dr. Anthony Harding from London, they asked him his help. So first he started writing in US and UK's magazines. He did not bother. Then he organized a second petition. This time it was signed by 94 people, some heavy names, leading American anthropologists and historians and geologists, and some Englishmen, some French, some German. They were saying this is all hoax. No pyramids there. They want to make money. They are destroying existing archaeological sites. They have no experts. Not a single proof for those accusations. Fortunately, the Bosnian government rejected the second petition. So now they got upset. They sent letters to all national European archaeological associations in Italy, in France, in Germany, Slovenia, Croatia, asking them to boycott the project and threatening archaeologists, if they go to Bosnia, they won't be able to find a job when they come to their respective countries. Every archaeological congress after 2006 had our example as pseudoscience, pseudo-archaeology, pseudo-this or that. In Malta, Cyprus, in Zagora, Croatia, in Prague. Again, we did not bother. We kept working. 2006, 2007, we have no archaeologists from Europe. So we asked the Egyptian government to send us 3 experts. And they did. The first one to come, Dr. Ali Barakat. The second one, Mohammed Ibrahim Ali, the guy who replaced Zaki Khalas. Third one, Rami al-Hadidi, all of them very impressed. Well, the first one, Dr. Ali Barakat, spent 42 days in Bosnia. And he wrote a scientific report. And he read it on June 23rd, 2006, in Sarajevo, at a press conference, big podium. And he ended his report with the words, "The Bosnian pyramid of the sun is a man-made pyramid." Big boost for us. Slap in the face for that. The very same day, June 23rd, from the National Museum, and now we have discovery of bigger and older pyramids in Europe than those in Northern Africa. Imagine 20% of tourists less in Egypt. 20%, and most of them in UK, France, Germany, Poland, and Russia. All European countries. 20% of $15.5 billion, more than $3 billion. After the meeting, Zaki is coming in front of journalists and TV reporters with the words, "There are no pyramids in Bosnia. Those so-called concrete blocks are not concrete. They are natural blocks." Dr. Barakat is no expert in pyramids. The guy with 40 years of experience in Egyptian pyramids. And Osmanagić is hallucinating. So Dr. Barakat went back to Cairo. He was working for the Ministry of Geology. And they fired him when he got back. Because he dared to speak his scientific mind. He did not ask the permission from his superiors. And what did we do? We kept hallucinating. And opened a project for volunteers from all over the world. We asked their help, and they came in numbers. Hundreds of them, at their own expense. Like the volunteers today, also. They are helping us removing the layers of soil above the concrete blocks. So we are exposing more and more areas to the work of the pyramid. And this enthusiasm lasted only 3 weeks, because the State Institute for National Monument Preservation has changed the law. And from little protective area on the top of the Pyramid of the Sun, 20 meters by 45 meters, they enlarged it 3 times, 2006, 2007, 2009, for 97 times. And all our archaeological trenches became part of the protected area. So we were not able to work there no more. Actually, in 2007 we were working so we moved to the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moor. Well, even if it is protected area, you have a chance to work there and get permission. You write a project, you show that you have experts and goals and the money and organization, which we did. We wrote the project together with the biggest archaeological faculty in the world, archaeological faculty at the University of Cairo. In every country, people will be proud that leading Egyptian archaeologists and Egyptologists are coming to work with you. Again, in every normal country, Now, case from the Federal Institute for National Monuments, they rejected this project 3 times with no written explanation. And her boss, the Minister for Culture, unfortunately in 2 terms, 8 years, he was publicly saying as long as he is minister, the foundation will never get permissions or the money. They formed 8 of them, informal group, ministers, people from media, with the goal to prevent foundation's activities. And they would delegate the tasks. You don't give them permissions, you don't give them money, you boycott them in the media, you don't get them to go to UNESCO. At that time, 2006, this place was very popular. Ministers were coming, the sportsmen and the others. And then in magazines, they started writing against those visitors. Very soon, the leading public figures stopped coming there. But then we kept working. Even though we were having less and less funds, less donations, I was still spending some of my own money, savings in Houston. So they were wondering, how come we still work? And then they realized, hey, they need to change the tactics. They need to discredit the guy who's running it. So they started writing against me. They wanted to turn public against me. This guy wrote an article, 4 pages, in the leading Bosnian magazine, claiming that Mr. Osmanagić made his fortune in the 1990s cooperating with Russian mafia. Of all the countries I've been, I've never gone to Russia until 2007. And of course, the Vice President of the Communist Party, very influential here, now Social Democrats, the leading geologist, the leading archaeologist in Germany, Academy of Sciences. So, in normal countries, when Minister of Culture attacks you, they don't give you support. You give up. But when he is supported by the state institutes for national monuments, federal institutes, journalists, leading magazines, political parties, geologists and archaeologists, a member of the Academy of Sciences, and European Archaeological Association, and leading American anthropologists and geologists and historians, and even the fellow Zaki Havas, what do you do? More than 99% of people would give up. But do you really give up your noble goals? Do you give up your scientific path? Do you give up your dreams in such a moment? So we never gave up. What we did, we sued the government. Now you woke up, Jake. For 4 years, the file was in a drawer at the court. And finally, the 5th year, we got it out and made a judgment in our favor. They said that their refusal to give us permission was illegal. So we went back to the San Pyramid, started clearing more and more areas. The enthusiasm was back. 2012, now 2013, and we are experiencing more and more concrete. Our trench 4A, 4C, which has been enlarged, 5A, 5B, now it's all one sonda, 30 degrees slope to the top, 10, 12, and we included the Bosnian Pillar of the Moon. Over there, the design is completely different. It's a combination of the terraces and the clay. This is one of them, our archaeological trench number 20. an archaeologist. In 2010, when we organized our first summer camp for volunteers, for the first time, archaeologists from 6 European countries came to visit. From Italy, France, Spain, UK, Hungary, and Croatia. Some of them were telling me about the threats they were receiving from their professors. They were telling them not to go to Bosnia. For example, Sarajevo, who was coming here for 3 years, he was showing us an email from her professor from the University of Milan. When she came back the first year, he said, I will personally take care that you never get the job as the archaeologist in Italy. But then she said, listen, this project is much more important, global, than our personal destinies. Now, JJ asked me if we had a famous geologist, Dr. Robert Schock. Yes, we did. At the very beginning of the project, 2006, he did come. He invited himself, and we paid for all his expenses. And then everything he was looking, he said, natural, natural, natural. Moon pyramid, natural. Concrete blocks on the sun, natural. He never took any samples to test them. The tunnels, he said, well, I heard the stories that Yugoslav army built them. So it is very recent, according to him. Now, Dr. Schock is an independent scholar for most of the people, and rather influential. Even today, 2013, he's doing his TV and radio interviews, claiming that Osmanagić is there to make money and to be elected in politics. That's what he came in 2006. But guess what? In 2006, I never had any ambitions to be in politics. When US ambassadors asked me in 2006, Mr. Osmanagić, before the election, in October, he said, you are very popular here in Bosnia. Why don't you run for the office? I said, there are different ways to help your country. My way is to be in cultural heritage, to promote it, to preserve it. I'm not interested in politics. But anyway, it will be up to you to decide, is Mother Nature capable of shaping those sandstone plates on all 6 sides, and again, 6 breaks at 90 degrees, and then transport them from the quarry at the pyramid destination, laying them out so perfectly, connected them with the binding material, even building the steps. Or is it work of intelligent hands? The Moon Pyramid, 190 meters, Cheops 147. Pavements, rectangular structures, terraces, steps, shaped blocks, shaped plates, walls, a huge stone structure. Cut the hole to see the section. Look who we found in the hole. First row of blocks, clay, 10 centimeters. Second row of blocks, clay. Third row of blocks, clay. The ancients were wise. They knew the properties of natural construction materials. Clay, excellent binder, insulation, waterproof, gives flexibility to the structures. Terrace at the top, large, medium, small. 1, 2, 3. Fibonacci 4. We got sacred geometry, we got the energy movement. When people see the clay here, they say, oh, it's natural sedimentation. Not knowing that most of the Chinese pyramids are built from clay. When they removed the soil from one of them, 9% of the pyramid was clay. Even the underground tunnels, 80% clay. Some bricks and sandstone plates. The age, we discussed that, and probably I missed that part today. You were telling me about the age. Well, there was an evolution how to get the age of the pyramid. Since they are covered by soil, we discussed that today, pedology answered the potential age of the soil. 12 to 15,000 years, meaning the structure is even older. Last year, archaeologist Nicola Visconti was removing the layers of soil, and below the soil and on the top of the concrete block, he discovered the organic material. He sent it to Kiev, Ukraine, the age 24,800 years, plus minus 200. So we go back 25,000 as the minimum age. And of course today you heard about 29,200 between two concrete blocks. So the conclusion would be that that particular section is at least 29,000 years old. And most probably the whole structure is close to 30,000 years old. However, until we got the confirmation from 5 or 10 different sites, plus organic material that belonged to the original builders, maybe from chambers or inner passageways, we won't be 100% sure. But in any case, we are going back tens of thousands of years. How come the Bosnian pyramids are older than Egyptian ones? We have a tendency here in Bosnia that everything we build, we do that without the construction permission. So while we are building our pyramids, the Egyptians were standing in a line waiting for the permit. And now, what was happening tens of thousands of years ago? According to the mainstream science, nothing. The era of the primitive caveman. Well, several major discoveries in the last 20 years is showing a different picture. The bottom of Pacifica, Yonaguni Islands, in Yonaguni, Taiwan, and the mainland China, in the triangle, 14 underwater cities were discovered. These are the first pictures from the step, stone structure, megalithic structure, with the temples on the top. The moment those pictures came to the Japanese newspapers, Japanese scientists, some of the archaeologists were saying, well, this is all natural. The water, made those methods. What is their problem? They knew that people will start asking questions. Who and when? Now, this is some places 30, some places 80 meters below the level of the ocean. Now, this is Pacific Ocean. Imagine how much water you would need to add to raise the level for 1 centimeter. This is the largest body of the water on the planet. You would need a lot. And now 30 or 80 meters. It had to be a global catastrophe. Even though our young colleagues said that he doubted that there was an end to the Ice Age 12,000 years ago, here we do have geological proof that something did happen that did rise this water level for 80 meters. Nobody built those megalithic structures on the bottom of the ocean. When was the last such event? Most probably 12,500 years ago. So these structures are even older than that. Now I got the nice DVDs tonight from our friends from Turkey. Thank you. But I go back to Turkey. Of course, a lot of you heard about this location in eastern Turkey. So far we have more than 45 T-shaped megaliths. Some of them are reaching 75 tons. That's the largest one. Obviously the primitive caveman was not erecting 75 tons. It was an advanced society. As far as the radiocarbon dating, they started with period 11 to 13,000. Now they're saying maybe it's 10,600. So eventually it will be before the end of the last ice age, because it is becoming a big problem for the mainstream science. Because again, we are going before the end of the last ice age. American anthropologists are saying it simply should not be there. But it is there. And we need to get the answers. Can one stone block change the human history? Yeah. The one in eastern Lebanon. Baalbek. 1,280 tons. You touch it, you're impressed. Until 20 years ago, our cranes could lift up to 300 tons. Today in China they had some bigger. 300 tons. So, until the end of the 20th century, our technology was inferior to the guys who were moving those stone blocks of over 1,000 tons. So when we think about the more advanced civilizations in the past, we do not need to go metaphysical. Here, in the physical world, we have scientific proofs of their existence. On the top of the hill, some blocks 840 tons. The fourth row. If you're lifting 840 tons, you have to have technology or to find a way to neutralize gravitational force. Machu Picchu, of course, everybody's saying the same thing. It was a royal retreat for Incas 700, 800, and 600 years ago. Every scientific reference, every encyclopedia, every textbook is claiming that same thing. Every reference but one. Mine. I'm talking about the 4 civilizations. The first one is moving 250 tons. Physical chemical analysis showing that this material was brought from Bolivia, 180 kilometers away. 250 tons in the remote area, 2,400 meters above the sea level, without the access roads. Even today, right there, just a train. The second one, tens of tons, perfectly fit each other, like those. The third one, the same sizes. Now that's more our philosophy. So thousands of years passed, the Incas came, they were using the small stones to separate those big walls, by building the primitive roofs, and that's where they were bringing their royals. So, it's not evolution. The most developed was the first. Everyone after that was really declining. And the interesting thing is, if you look closely, you can see those first ancient builders. You rotate the photo for 9 degrees, and from the 3 mountains in the flat, you can see the forehead and the nose and the beautiful lips and the cheek and the eye. 55,000 years ago, the builders left their impression on there. The moment we look at them, we realize how beautiful this face is, how calm, facing the universe. It tells us a lot about it. 2008, our first scientific conference on Bosnian pyramids, 55 scientists concluded this was an archaeological location, not geological, but media boycotted us. Professor Selim said the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, the biggest in the world. He went back, they said you betrayed your country, threatened to take his pension away, and then he disassociated himself from the project. Professor Reza Zubrov, archaeologist from Buffalo State University, after the visit, he said you need to find out who built the Bosnian pyramids, when they were built. He went back, he put the interview with him on YouTube, his colleagues attacked him in New York, and then he said, well, I didn't really mean that. German archaeologists found this beautiful ceramic pyramid, 4 sides, flat top, ornaments, also. They said it's 6,500 years old. They wanted to hide it from the public. Unfortunately, some of the workers, with their phones, they made some photos, sent it to us, so we made it public. 2011, our second conference, 27 scientists, now we are discussing what was the purpose of pyramids. 2012, last year, we had also very nice a list of researchers, among them our dear friend who passed away, Philip Coppens, and of course Klaus Donna, the Bertolis, Mizrak, and the others. So we are coming to the terrain about the purpose of pyramids. Classical archaeology cannot help us. We need help from the experts in energy phenomena, and as you know, first one to come, Dr. Mizrak, we expect him next Saturday to talk about measurements. He was the first one who did measure this energy being 4.5 meters, 28 kilohertz going up, electromagnetic being. And then later on, our dear friend Goran Marjanović, who is here, there you go. He confirmed the results and he was giving us more and more insights. Later on, Heikki Saulainen, sound engineer from Finland, and Paolo De Bertolis from Italy, Goran Samokovic from Serbia. 5 independent things are giving us the same results, and that is we do have this electromagnetic being going up, not left or right, up 4.5 meter radius. Don't have it here on the sides, only here. It's focused, it's continuous, it's present during all 4 seasons. In order to get this frequency, which is regular, comes in blocks, you have to have technology, you have to have machine. So, Sun Pyramid is not only the biggest machine, but also, actually it's not the biggest pyramid, but also the biggest machine. Then we measure the strength of the signal, surface 3 meters higher, 3 meters higher. Every time you go higher, the strength is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, meaning it does not act as our regular technology. So our technology we can call Hertzian technology, what we have here, non-Hertzian phenomena. And as I explained today, the guy who was experimenting with non-Hertzian technology in 1899, 1900, in his lab in Colorado Springs, our friend Nikola Tesla. Today we recognize his work, non-Hertzian phenomena, and then he did light up 10,000 homes in Colorado Springs, proving that, let's repeat this story from today, that clean energy was possible, that non-Hertzian technology was possible, that unlimited quantities of energies were possible, that wireless transportation was possible, and finally, that free energy was possible. American corporations did not accept that for a reason we can understand. There is no money in selling free energy, so J.P. Morgan cut him funds, and he was investing his money in hydro and thermal power plants. Now there is nuclear power plants that cost us a lot of money, and energy transportation, those power lanes where we lose 20 to 50%, so they can sell it to us, this energy, for a lot of money. And that's the base of profit economy. But one day, when the free energy become a reality for all of us, that will be half of the free society. The other half will be when we start receiving the knowledge, free flow of knowledge. And based on those 2 pillars, we will have society of free women and free men. Klaus Donna, who I guess went to bed tonight, gave us 2011 this illustration of tunnels within the pyramid. Light blue 5 meters deep, white 10 meters deep, blue 40 meters, brown 7 levels of tunnels, and they go like a spiral. Why like a spiral? You have a spiral within the pyramid. You have a base for Tesla's non-Hertzian waves. And I expect to hear something more from our colleague Marjanović. People ask, is only the Bosnian pyramid, the Sun active pyramid? No, it's not. The Kukulkan pyramid in Mexico, energy being going through the top. Some sites in ancient Greece, we can see the energy going through the top of the structures. The ancients were smart, they knew where to position those structures. When Dr. D.J. Nelson from US made a replica of Chaos, 52 degrees, he put Tesla's coil inside, and then this non-Hertzian waves starting emitting through the top of the pyramid. In his mature age, Tesla was writing after he built the tower on Long Island. I have conceived a means that will make it possible for man to transmit the energy in large amounts, thousands of horsepowers, from one planet to another, regardless of the distance. And I quote, I think that nothing can be more important than interplanetary communication. It will certainly come someday. A dear friend from Belgrade, Professor Ristovsky, was telling us, in order to have this energy being on the top of the pyramid, 28 kilohertz, you would need to have an antenna 2.5 kilometers. Well, our colleagues Mizrax and the others made an experiment in 2012 on the top of the sun pyramid. They sent raw materials to 3 labs, Zagreb, Belgrade and Vienna, looking for the source of the energy, and they all told us the same thing. 2,440 meters below the pyramid of the sun, there is a huge iron plate. Why iron? Because iron generates its own electromagnetic field. What the pyramid does, it sucks this energy. Now, this energy is going through the system of the tunnels, a huge labyrinth, and then spinning through those spiral tunnels in the pyramid, going as a focused energy. Getting stronger as it moves away from the pyramid means that there is a possibility to go to the ionosphere and to connect with any other bodies in the universe, not only in our solar system, but in our galaxy. So, you connect to planets, you establish the energy bridge. You've got the energy bridge, you can move radio waves. You move the radio waves, you can move frequencies, you can move information. And you are getting the most powerful communication device ever. Now we do have a problem, because if we are emitting the signal somewhere, the question is where, who's receiving the signals? And if somebody is receiving the signals, obviously, they are emitting the signals from there. So this guy is acting as an antenna, a receiver. So again, we are opening the Pandora box. Paul de Bertolis, he recorded the ultrasound from the top of the sun pyramid, 10 meters, 28 kilohertz. And then he was able to do the conversion from 28, which we cannot hear, we hear from 10 hertz to 20 kilohertz. He went from 28 to 8 kilohertz. So now you should be able to hear this signal for the first time, because the Bosnian pyramid speaks. Somebody's talking or sending faxes, fax messages. Now, this was one thing I could not tell you during our guided tours in the pyramid. I could not produce this sound. But like you said, it seems like somebody's talking. So what we did, we slowed down this sound. And let's see what we got. Let's see the sound. 28, 28, 28, 28, 28, 28. Same distance, block, block, block. When you have blocks, the regularity, you have technology, you have a machine. And this is the nearby hills. We don't have the same peaks, we don't have the same distances, we don't have regularity. And then the Bertolis did the recording of pyramidal hill, Monte Pavione in Italy. Again, no same peaks, no regularity, no blocks. Just the Sun Pyramid in Bosnia. Why is this frequency of ultrasound important? American Ralph Ring was experimenting with the 28 kHz frequency, with the ultrasound in general, 21, 22, 23. When he came to 28, he had a table tennis ball above the source of the sound, and the ball started levitating. He went to bed, came back next morning, the ball was still in the air, meaning this frequency is the best for the levitation. That's why when people go to our megalith K2, or on the top of the Sun Pyramid, some of them they start levitating, so we need to look for them in the sky, in the clouds. And Goran Samokovic from Belgrade, in April of this year, did more detailed screening. Now this brilliant young man found on all pyramids and in underground London two frequencies, 28.4 kilohertz, confirming what we already knew, and another one, this one right here, 7.83, the Schumann resonance, which we discussed a couple of days back. Everything in nature oscillates, resonates. Our planet resonates. It used to resonate at 7.83 hertz. Plants, animals, we, humans. 7.83 is the best frequency for our bodies, for our physical, mental, spiritual body. And this is what you are finding in the tunnels. This is between 5 and 10, 7.83, ideal for us. So, if we are finding this frequency on all pyramids, Sun and the Moon, and tunnels, tumulus also, but there is a lot of technical radiation close to tumulus, and that's shame. But on the Sun and the Moon, people can go there, they can relax. But now let's see what he calls the magical music from the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon. This is what you can hear inside this pyramid. Like we're using stethoscope, listening. See how rich inside this frequency? We would be going 5 meters, and there were some places there was nothing, no frequency at all, like the pyramid was breathing in. On some other places it was breathing out. Such rich frequencies. What's happening inside this complex? If you breathe in and out, you are alive. Next time I'm going to have a DVD for you with this movie. So, the last few years, tens of thousands of people came to the Bosnian Pyramid sites. They are promoting this project. You are promoting this project. You are becoming the best ambassador this country can have. Tourists from 8 countries so far. We tried to develop the private initiative without the government help. The youngest are coming. waiting to enter the tunnels. Those not so young. The blondes also. And those tourists from Malaysia, they are filling their bodies with the energies. They have an idea to develop a complex. It should be replica of Bosnian pyramids, the sun and the moon, and the dragon and the love, and temple of Mother Earth, and tumulus in Ratnasa, and underground labyrinth, or 5-star hotel, archaeological museum, healing facility, place for volunteers. As you can see, we're planning to have 500 at times. Homeless tourism. It's about 50 million euros. So it's 100 of you. So it's about 500,000 euros. So when you get out, please, it will be a box. Of course, our friends showed some sources. This is the one from 2012. 150 people from 15 countries. We are doing this mantra about the love and the unity and the friendship. And the last 15 minutes we were all on our feet. And then as we were doing the mantra harder and quicker and stronger, we felt the health in our knees and our legs. It was like the pyramid is sending its own energy. So this message could be heard everywhere. And then we were waiting for the sunset. In this particular case, it landed on my head. And then we decided we should be doing this year after year. So this year, we got a nice group of about 300, 350 people from 25 countries, waiting for the sunset. Now let's see what happened with our friends volunteers. 2010, they came from 30 countries, 500 of them, 2011, 32 countries, 2012, 52 countries. This year we have hundreds and hundreds more volunteers. Are you still here? Volunteers?
Yeah.
There you go. What we are getting from them is the one that probably smiles and good positive energy. They come, as a matter of fact, in the little country of Bosnia, don't know what to expect, but then after 2 weeks they got such excellent friendships and good exchange of the ideas, opportunity to work at the real archaeological site. Girls from Spain, from Slovenia, Croatia, England, from so many different countries, having fun. As you can see, these guys from last year are having more fun with this wheelbarrow than you guys. It's a nice fellow from Holland, Dominicus. He was working inside and he was sending the messages like this one here. Everything is possible. Oh, this one there. Beautiful people. Love each other. Look how little trim material. They are doing some other things, I can see that. And now, Dominicus sent a message, and at the end of the chain was the girl. So let's see what happened there. Who do you love most? And she said, you. Okay, now we have a productivity problem. When we think about science, we always think about serious or too serious guys. They're writing their PhDs and they don't release their results for 5-10 years, or they do only selective release. And knowledge and science is not about that. It's about being open. It's about the flow of the knowledge amongst us. It's about having fun in our life. So I think we are giving a good example in one rather conservative field, archaeology, about the way how it should be. The smiles on their faces, because they know, and you know, that you are a very active part of the history-changing process. And I really salute you. And we want, at least partially, to uncover what is today the biggest covered pyramid, right over here, and one day might become the biggest uncovered pyramid on the planet. Thank you very much.